Hey everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment, the Ace. I am Peter, and joining me as always on the Sci-Fi Movie Podcast, Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
There was some hesitation there.
I thought maybe you forgot what show you're in.
That happens all the time, but it didn't happen today. No, this is the Atomic Cinema Experiment. This is a sci-fi movie podcast. We talk about sci-fi movies, and on this week's episode, we are talking about 1994's Roland Emmerich's Stargate.
Thanks to me.
Thanks to Tara. Tara picked this one, which I will probably bring up several times throughout the remainder of this show. And then also worth mentioning, at the end of the episode, we have a bonus segment, which I actually said we wouldn't have one this week, but we found time. We found time to squeeze it in. Now, the chances of the next one having one are very, very slim. But
yeah, it's not happening.
It's not happening. But you think it went, instead of having like 3 in a row without one, you got one off, one on, one off, and then we'll be back to having them for every episode, I think. So Mystery Science Theater 3000. At the end of the show, we watched the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode, and we'll talk about that movie at the end. So there you go. And one thing I do want to say before we even get started on the movie is that we do have an official Atomic Cinema Experiment Twitter now. I didn't redo the image on the screen to have it on there in the corner. I should do that for next episode. And if I forget, then Tara can make fun of me at the time. But the Twitter, and I'm having to check this because I've not memorized it yet, is at the Ace Podcast.
Ooh.
I really wanted at Atomic Cinema. Unfortunately, some prick has taken it already. So I had to settle for the Ace Podcast, at the Ace Podcast. And Tara does not touch Twitter, but I do occasionally ask her for something to say. So you do still technically get Tara's stream of consciousness on Twitter.
This isn't like some backhanded way to get me onto Twitter, because I'm not going to do it.
No. I just, I did like a random recommendation like yesterday, and I thought I'll do one again today, and I thought, no, I'll ask Tara for one. So I asked Tara, and she picked a movie. So there's a little Tara input going on, but via proxy. She will not sully her fingers by touching the app or the keyboard.
I can't even hit the letter T anymore. I can't sign my emails Tara. I have to just do Era.
I was going to say, that must be quite awkward with your name. Yeah. It'd be awkward for my name as well, admittedly. Although, by your standards, I don't say the T anyway, so maybe...
You don't. Your name's Peter.
Peter. It's more like a GHT in the middle when I say it. Peter.
Okay.
Peter. That's how you want me to say it. But I will never give in. I will never surrender.
No. I like the accent. You can keep it.
I can keep it. Oh, fine. I had an American accent already for the rest of this episode. But yeah, okay. Tara said it's okay for me to keep my Scottish, so I'll keep my Scottish. But yeah, so we're here to talk about Stargate. We're here to talk about Stargate, which is the second film, I believe, from Roland Emmerich. The first one he did was Universal Soldier. Have you seen?
Which I have seen, but it's been a long time.
Well, it is a sci-fi movie, so we will probably get to it at some point, someday. So we'll save the conversation for then. But I was quite fond of that as a young lad. Had Van Damme.
Yeah, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren.
Yep. Had those two.
Hell yeah.
Had things I liked about it. And the film that Emmerich did after this, of course, was Independence Day, which is kind of his biggest movie. People have very fond memories of it, regardless of quality. Everyone has a lot of nostalgia for it. But Tara's like, I remember liking Stargate. I want to see if it holds up. Can we do Stargate? And the chump that I am said, sure. And I think this is because she agreed to do a show with me, so I'm being extra nice for a little bit.
Plus, it's a nice, palate cleanser from last week's Tetsu the Iron Man.
Tetsuo. Maybe Maybe you're pronouncing it right. I don't know, but based on the lettering, I'm going with Tetsuo.
You're right. It is Tetsuo, but it's which was a we agreed was a really good movie, but so weird and so out there. And this is just like, oh, familiar American popcorn film.
Yeah, this is about as mainstream '90s as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do, and we'll give you a warning somewhere in the middle before we get spoilers. Stargate, of course, spawned a TV show called Stargate SG-1 a few years later, which then led to spin-offs, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, and I believe a year or two ago, they launched a Stargate streaming service for one new Stargate show, which is the most ridiculous cash-grabbing thing I've ever seen in my life. But
What?
that was
Really?
apparently a thing, yeah.
I didn't know about that.
I can't remember what it was called, but it was basically like like DC have got a streaming service, but they're doing like different shows. This
Yeah,
was like
it's not like a fan-made thing. It's like a
no, an actual
actually
thing.
produced show.
We have one show. You're paying for one show, and that's it.
Well, that's why I got CBS All Access. I just wanted Star Trek.
But you at least got Twilight Zone as well, although you may have wished
You're
you hadn't. But
Let's not go into it again.
oh dear. Anyway, so yeah, so I want to say that because people are going to be like mad at us if we don't mention the fact that these shows came from it. And I've heard good things about SG-1, and I know some of the creators
Me
from
too.
it went on to do Travelers on Netflix, which I really loved. So I may have to,
Is that the one that's got Kratos in it?
don't think so. No,
Judge, Christopher Judge?
no, I don't think he's in that.
Hmm.
Because I know what he
Okay.
looks like, and I'm trying to think if there's anyone who looks like him in the entire show, and there isn't.
Well, I mean in Stargate, not in Traveler.
Oh, it's Stargate. Oh, yeah, maybe in Stargate. Yeah, I don't know if he's in Stargate. Yeah, you may be right. You may be right. So hey, maybe that's an already cancelled someday. But
Whew. I think it's like 10 seasons.
it is like 10 seasons. How about Tara finishes catching up in Babylon 5? We'll finish Babylon 5, and then we'll talk about replacing it with Stargate.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I have to like Babylon 5 first.
You like it? You've watched like 3 episodes. You like it?
I'm going to withhold my opinion.
She likes it. Whatever. Yeah, so mention the shows. But this movie, of course, was made independently of the shows. This was made before they knew that they were doing shows. At least I assume it was. There's nothing in it that makes me think they were setting up for a TV show.
No,
And
I don't
it
think so.
stars James Spader and Kurt Russell in the main two roles. And the premise of Stargate is that there's a mysterious gate that is discovered. Is it in Egypt?
I assume so.
Yeah,
It probably has to be.
I think it is because it's related to the pyramids and stuff. There's a lot of Egypt talk going on in the film, so I assume it is in Egypt. And this happens like in the 30s or whatever it is, and then present day James
28.
20, sorry, and then James Spader's recruited because he's an expert in ancient Egypt and hieroglyphics, but specifically translating old languages and things like that. He's a what's the word for it?
A bit of a kook.
A linguist was what I was going for, but yes, a bit of a cook, sure. So he gets recruited, and Kurt Russell's brought in to sort of lead the military side of things. But basically, Jim Spader figures out these symbols around the gate, which activates it, and it turns out that it's a gate between 2 points in space. Like there's literally like another gate on another planet somewhere. So Jim Spader and a team of military go through the gate as a sort of just a reconnaissance to see what's there. But they end up stuck there for quite some time, and they have to deal with the people, the beings that are there, and any other things, any villains that might arise, and somehow get home, figure out the code, and get home. So that is the basic gist of Stargate. So Tara suggested this because she wanted to see if it held up, if she still liked it.
Mhm.
So with that, I asked the question, Tara, after watching it again, does it indeed hold up?
Well, it's dumb, but I still kind of liked it.
Oh dear, I want to like it a lot more than I do, and there's just all these little Roland Emmerich things that just keep stopping it from working. They just keep stopping it
Yeah,
from being good.
I really liked this movie when it came out. I watched it a lot as a kid. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
was really into ancient Egypt as a kid. I think a lot of kids were. It's kind of like the step after dinosaurs. First you
Sure,
like
yeah.
dinosaurs, then you like ancient Egypt. So this came out at a time where, you know, it's PG-13, so the whole family can watch it. And I watched it a lot as a kid. And I think I watched it before, I mean, even when Independence Day came out, even though I was young, I still remember that I kind of didn't like it that much. And then Godzilla, I think, was after that for Roland Emmerich. And I really hated that film when I watched it. So I think it was because I saw it before the stain of Roland Emmerich really hit and all of his isms that keep popping up in other films. I
Yeah,
think I like it because of that.
I don't think my I didn't see. I mean, I might like it more if I saw it as a kid, but I didn't see it until I was like maybe late teens, early 20s. Right, I just sort of tried it then,
Okay.
and I'm fairly fond of Universal Soldier and Independence Day, but both of those I did see as a kid. What those have in common is that I did grow up watching them, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah. Well, Independence Day was like an event when it
yeah.
came out.
So I guess like this one, because I just watched it as an adult first time, it just kind of had to live or die on its own merits. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, I think it falls into a lot of tropes that are kind of bug me. A lot, and not even just Roland Emmerich stuff specifically, just like tropes in movies. It's such a like I was getting kind of like a mediocre Mummy vibe from this. You know, I'm thinking 1999 Mummy, and not just because there's an actor in this from the Mummy, but it was
Which
making
one?
the leader of the people.
Oh, yeah.
He's like the librarian, I think, in the Mummy. I think that was his position.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
I remember him from Star Trek Enterprise,
of course you do. Well,
the
do you know
hit
what?
television show Star Trek Enterprise.
Do you know you've opened the door there because I was going to bring up Star Trek, and I'm going to do it now since you've got us on this path.
Sure.
Did you recognize anyone else from Star Trek in this movie?
Oh, on the spot. No.
The general dude who is kind of the leader that sends them on the mission.
Oh, he looked familiar.
And do you want to know why I recognized him?
Hmm.
Because he was literally in the last episode I watched.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He was in season 1, episode 25 of Next Generation. He is the southern guy who's unfrozen out of the pod, who smacks Beverly Crusher on the ass at one point. That's him. I recognized him immediately and went, that's that asshole from that last Star Trek episode.
Oh, I know what episode that is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's wake up these people in the frozen pods that came from the 21st century, because that's never ended badly before in Star Trek. So
Right, right. That's the one. Is Amelia Earhart in that too?
no.
Oh, never mind. Then I don't know what episode it is. I thought there was like four people that were found.
There's 3 people, but none of them are like historical figures. They're all just, people.
Oh, Amelia Earhart's in. You're right. She's in an Enterprise episode again. Okay. It's still the episode I'm thinking of. I just kind of mushed two of them together.
Notice how I mentioned Star Trek, or she mentioned Star Trek, and then like I let it go on a bit longer, and then Tara went on another good minute or two about Star Trek. Notice how it snowballed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you asked me to do the show.
Yeah, I suppose it is. Yeah, yeah. That was basically the resume. It was, we'll somehow talk about Star
I
Trek
know
at
things
length.
about Star Trek.
Yes.
Hire
Um.
me.
So yeah, there was that. Speaking of just cast, if we're on cast, who's in other things, French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun's in this, and I'm not
I
gonna
know you
lie.
thought all of our talk about Third Rock from the Sun was over. You
I
were
know,
wrong.
I know. Um, I don't even remember what episode it was. We ended with like 15 minutes of Third Rock from the Sun talk, but yeah, that happened. And French Stewart, who plays Harry, on Third Rock, he's in this as kind of a dickbag as one of the military,
Mhm.
and honestly, him being this aggressive douchebag was really hard to like take seriously because he's Harry from Third Rock from the Sun.
Yeah. He had his eyes open a lot more in this
I
movie.
know.
But every time he did his like French Stewart squinty face, and like, oh, there you are.
Yeah. It's just like obviously it's not his fault or the movie's fault that he went on to be known for this character, but it just like it was so distracting because I've never seen him not be a goofy character, so it was hard to take him
Yeah.
as this. It was really weird. Um,
I didn't know he did other like stuff, to be honest. I thought he was a comedian who just went on to be in a sitcom.
yeah, I could see that. Um, yeah. Oh, and that was Jimon Hunzo in this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. This is pre-Amistad.
Yeah, he's had a bit of a renaissance recently with Guardians and Captain Marvel. He's been getting
He was
some
in
work.
Shazam also.
You're right. He was the wizard in Shazam. Yeah.
Hmm.
Who? All you can blame me for not recognizing him immediately. He had a big fake wizard hair and beard.
Yeah.
Uh,
You recognize the voice though.
yeah, yeah. And then there's one more actor I want to mention. Richard Kine's in this, who's
Yeah.
been on Curb Your
Very small.
Enthusiasm. He was in Mad About You when that was on. What was he? I think it was. He was also in Spin City, I believe, if I remember right. A lot of sitcoms. Done a lot of sitcoms.
Yeah.
Oh, and he was recently in Gotham as well. It was the mayor of Gotham on that.
And it was Bing Bong.
It
Poor,
was
poor Bing Bong.
what's Bing Bong?
In Inside Out,
Oh,
the
okay.
imaginary friend
Okay,
of Riley.
okay. I don't know if I even realized that was him. Maybe I did when I was watching it because he does have a distinct voice.
Yeah.
I probably did. So yeah, a lot of cast popping up. Obviously, it's Kurt Russell and James Spader. Kurt Russell in his middle-aged prime. James Spader, who's like in his 20s here or something like that.
He's so handsome in this movie.
Someone had a crush on James Spader.
I watched this movie a lot when I was younger. Yeah. I think maybe I had a crush on John Lennon because he looks a lot like John Lennon in this movie.
So what are we talking about there? Oh, yeah, the positives and negatives, right? Spoiler free. So music's not bad. David Arnold's score is got a 90s adventure kind of bombastic to it. That's kind of good.
Yeah, you mentioned The Mummy. I think I got vibes of that too. I think it was more, I was getting some like Lawrence of Arabia for some of the scenes. Like they were trying to channel that mixed in with the magic science fiction element.
I can't believe you just compared Lawrence of Arabia to Stargate.
Yes, I did.
I mean, I'm about to do it with
Okay, I would say more like Lawrence of Arabia meets Indiana Jones. So throw in some classic John Williams too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm about to bring
I
up.
think I think the thing is that Lawrence of Arabia, like really, that's what you think of when you see these epic shots in a desert. So I think it like set the stage for what you expect from that kind of shot in a film.
Yeah, I'm about to bring up 2001: Space Odyssey, so maybe I shouldn't. Shouldn't.
Oh, there's definitely reasons too.
Well, there is, yeah. When they go through the gate, there's this like effect of going through space, which is very reminiscent of 2001: Space Odyssey, which I'd completely forgotten that. I'd forgotten that moment.
Beyond Jupiter, yeah, it's a lot shorter in this case.
Oh, sure, yeah. This film has no intent of being an art house film, and spending 10 minutes on it. I also yawned mid-sentence there. That was really impressive. I apologize. So, no, like some adventure things are fine in the film. I think it has a weird pacing issue. Now, admittedly, I will mention that the only version available to me was the extended cut, which was 9 minutes longer. However, my complaints about...
Oh, that's right.
My complaints
I've never
about...
seen that, so I don't know what scenes are different.
Nor do I. I don't remember it enough to tell you what's different. But I remember... Or I don't think my pacing issues were just because there was 9 extra minutes. I think my pacing issues were more kind of the weird structure of the movie. Because I'll tell you the things I hate about this movie right now. I hate the villain.
Okay.
I hate the villain. I hate a lot of things surrounding the villain. Namely, this ridiculous. It reminded me of the Power Rangers movie. These like bird plane things coming out of the pyramid and flying around, bombing people.
Okay.
Hated that. There's a garbage romance in this. It does the thing where the four white dudes somehow improve the entire civilization of this other group of people. So we're playing with some white savior tropes. That can go piss itself off.
Yeah, I love that they get through the gate and there's a woman there who immediately wants to sleep with one of them. Like,
Yeah,
that is
immediately.
very tropey.
Very tropey. And not even just that. I'll save it for spoilers, but it goes places.
Yeah.
It goes places
I'm
very
with you.
quickly. So you've got that, and then I think some of the action's kind of dull. Whenever like the villains and the soldiers get into like gunfights or stuff, it's all kind of dull. Like I was never really that excited by like, I love Kurt Russell. Like I should be excited by Kurt Russell taking on these evil dudes or these evil villains, and it was just kind of dull and boring. Like I don't know, like there wasn't anything like funny. Like it all takes place in the hallways of the pyramid, and it's just all this. It all looks the same. There's no like Joe's reminded me of a little bit at times.
What?
Alien versus Predator.
Oh.
We're in a pyramid, dark rooms. Because it's PG-13, there's not really much violence, and then on top of that, the first time the villains show up,
I forgot that movie was rated PG-13.
Yeah.
What a disappointment. The sequel wasn't, right? But it was just as bad.
It was worse.
Yeah.
Like, Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which by all accounts we will do someday on this show, although you can see me talking about it with Connor on Influx already if you want to go find that out. It is the only movie that I have ever seen where the daytime scenes are too dark.
Okay, I don't remember.
I
think I saw it once in the theater. It was just like, well, I'm never watching that again.
You saw it in the theater.
It has Alien and Predator in the title. I saw both of them in the theater.
Yeah, I did see Prometheus and Alien Covenant in the theater though.
I saw Prometheus. I checked out of everything after that.
Alien Covenant. I mean, we'll get there. We're going to do it. I think the plan is that we'll do Alien for Alien Day next year, and then just do them once per year from then. Unless Ridley Scott actually gives us this third prequel that he's threatening us with. But
oh, Ridley Scott, just make The Martian 2.
This time, it's his daughter on Mars.
This time it's personal.
Why do they keep sending people to Mars? They keep getting stranded. Judge, what I want it to be? I want it to be like Home Alone 2, where somehow lightning just strikes twice, and they convince Matt Damon to go up with them as a consultant, and then they accidentally leave him on Mars, and I just want the scene of him going, "You've got to be kidding me! I'm on Mars again!"
Right. Just some kind of strange setup so that it's all the same again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep. Except, no, maybe not Mars though. Maybe the joke here is that it's like Venus. Oh dear.
Live off those potatoes.
I've never heard that, and it's really dumb, but it's also really witty. You're getting a point for that, Tara. take 1 point. So. Yeah, I'll leave it there for my complaints and spoiler free. But needless to say, I think there's a lot of this movie that doesn't quite add up, and I never really quite get into it or really care about the story all that much. I expect the TV shows.
I kind of like that it's because it's a '90s film and it has all the '90s tropes in it. It's just such a slice of that time of that '90s blockbuster going to the movies in the summertime, you know. But thanks, Peter. Yeah, I don't know. I know it's not very good, and it is very tropey, and my dog's throwing up.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I thought the cat or the dog were banging against something. That was throwing up.
It's my dog. Nothing came out. She just hacks.
This show is crumbling. It's crumbling live before your eyes.
We should just edit that part out.
Never.
I didn't really say anything important anyway. Here she goes. You okay, girlfriend? You gonna make it?
It sounds like someone's got a nail gun.
No, it's my dog. Because there's no furniture in here, so everything's echoey.
Ah, that's what it is. Yes. Just you wait until we do a live Ace show of some kind. There'll be cats and dogs doing all sorts of crazy things all over the place.
Nobody wants that.
We'll call it the live cinema experiment.
Nobody wants that. Well, anyway, I do. I know it's really dumb and tropey, but I like Kurt Russell's character a lot. Even though it's tropey, I like the puzzles. Although we don't really get to solve them, I like James Spader solving them. I like the humor in it, and sure, the action is not very good, but it's also a PG-13 film for kids. Like, it's good enough.
You can have good action that's not violent.
No, I agree.
Did you see like any Avengers movies?
Yeah, it's hard to compare like new films like to ones that came out in the early 90s though.
Sure.
They're still figuring out how to do it.
But I mean, there was good like shooting action scenes in like movies in the 90s and even before the 90s, more to the point. Like it's doable.
I don't hate like the action in the film. I think it works good enough.
Okay. Ultimately, there's nothing more to argue on it. Really, it's just either you're fine with it or you're not. I always felt like it lacked geography. It lacked any kind of sense of what the momentum was and like where it was going. It was just like random bit of action to then justify the next scene, kind of thing. That's what it always felt like to me. But hey, I mean, I like Kurt Russell a lot anyway in general, and he's he's probably the best part of this movie because he's got the charisma and the
and he's got the arc,
and he's the one with the character arc. That is true. The character arc is definitely a little bit on the, I don't want to say rushed. It's a bit thin. It's like very obvious what it is, and it kind of just goes through a couple of obvious beats. Yeah. And plays out exactly how you would think it would. I mean,
I still kind of liked it. I mean, I don't want to say why until we get to spoilers.
Sure.
But I still kind of I love the opening shot of him where he's got this like Kurt Cobain hair, and he's all like miserable, and then he cut to him like, and he's got this sweet like Dolph Lundgren, Ivan Drago haircut. Military man. It's good. It's just so 90s.
Yeah, he's good. I think the best thing about the movie, honestly, is probably the fact that they're on a desert, shooting in a desert, so it looks quite deserty, like proper, like big vistas of desert. The problem is that I think when, at least the first time I watched this movie, is I was expecting like either to go to more locations or the locations in this one planet to be more varied, and ultimately, because actually, this may explain why you like it so much. The first like half of this movie, not including the opening like 10-20 minutes where they're setting up the main thing, but when they get to the planet, the first like 40 minutes of that is very much like a mediocre episode of Star Trek.
Maybe
because they find the people.
Maybe that's why I like it.
They go to the town and they kind of like bond with the commoners, the locals is what I meant to say.
Yeah. Nobody speaks the language.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it was Star Trek, then they would all just miraculously speak English. I mean, I'll give it credit there. They actually used that. They used the fact that they couldn't speak English and played around with that.
Yeah, there's no like Hunt for Red October scene where it just like zooms in on their mouth and then it zooms out and they're speaking in English. I think that's Hunt for Red October. Oh.
I don't remember that. Although the show in Cinemax, Warrior, which is set in Chinatown in like the start of the century, they did a really interesting thing where if there's a character, or like if there's like a white character around who doesn't speak Cantonese, they're speaking Cantonese in the subtitles, but if they're on their own, they just speak in English. And it shows you that this is happening because the first time, like, you'll have someone walk up to them and it'll switch, and there'll be like a camera like sort of spin as they change. And it was a really neat thing. It was kind of like, it reminded me of a comic book where they'll just like write the language in a different color and they'll say at the bottom, text in this color has actually been spoken in, you know, Mandarin or whatever. So I thought it was neat.
Interesting.
Since you brought that up, I thought it was
I've never heard of it.
Yeah. So, is that what you want to tell about in spoiler free? Anything else you want to?
I really like the concept of the movie. Like I think the plot works, and I think that's why it has so many successful television shows that I've never watched. I've never even watched an episode of any of them, but I do really like the idea where they just take a cool part of our ancient history and link it to aliens. I like the idea of a portal to another world across the universe where they've taken humans. It does sound very Star Trek episode to me.
It does. No, I like the concept well enough, which is I think why the TV show is probably quite good, because they realise there's a lot to do from this. I presume in the show the Stargate goes to multiple Stargates and there's different planets.
There's one for Atlantis.
Exactly.
They're not going to an Egypt planet for that.
Exactly. I appreciate the concept. Even if I don't, I think this movie is just too much of a generic Hollywood '90s movie to really take advantage of it. Whereas I imagine the TV shows, probably don't get everything right because there's 10 seasons of it. I assume not all of it can be gold, but it tries a lot of different things.
The movie focuses on one thing, which is these people are enslaved, and that's like the main driver of it. And there's a villain. But I imagine like there's so much more you can do with the show, with just taking from the concept.
Yes. Yeah, terrible villain at that. Just I want to add that in there.
I don't hate the villain.
I hate the villain. Like,
I like the actor.
The villain.
He's only been in 2 things. This and The Crying Game, and he doesn't want to act anymore, I guess.
I guess not. I guess The Crying Game.
Apparently, he didn't even want to do this movie. Like, he just did The Crying Game and said, I don't think acting's for me. But they're like, please, we need you for this film. And he said, I'll do it for $1 million, thinking that they'll never agree to that. And they said, okay.
Well, power to him then.
So he did this movie, and I think like 2 shorts, and then retired from acting forever.
All right, let's move on to spoilers. So full spoilers for Stargate from henceforth. And okay, let's talk about them and this group of people. So they very quickly meet this tribe. Maybe, is that the correct term here? After some hijinks, because they've got these big sort of mammothy horses that they ride. That James Spader gets
played by Frank Welker.
Oh really? Okay, there you go.
Yeah, Scooby-Doo.
There you go. So he gets dragged along, and they eventually find these people. And at first they're really timid, they're kind of scared, and then in walks the leader character, and he tries to make peace with them, and he offers them some water. And James Spader decides to pull out a Fifth Avenue bar. I think that's what it was called. I've never had one. This is not a candy bar.
I don't think I've ever had one too. I think they're like a lesser Snickers bar.
But he pulls this out.
They look crunchy.
Yeah, I wonder if this is just like, they sponsored the movie, so that's why it's instead of Snickers.
Yeah.
Snickers didn't want to pay us, but Fifth Avenue did.
Is it Nestle?
Who makes what?
I don't know. I think Fifth Avenue is Nestle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Snickers is the Mars company.
Right.
But
they can keep their money.
Yeah. So he gives him a chocolate bar. And he's like, the guy basically just stands there and has an orgasm. He's just like, oh, I've never had this before. Oh, this is the best thing ever.
For the gods.
You're the god now, dog. You're the god now. Do you have more of this delicious candy? That's that scene. But they end up taking them back to their camp, which is it's a fairly advanced camp for what it is. But And we have them like, sort of eating with the locals. I did kind of laugh a couple of times because there's a few times where like the soldiers' response to something was just to like grab their guns and point them in faces, and I'm like, calm down, so twitchy.
Yeah, I thought some of the comedy was pretty good too. Or they keep looking to James Spader to like interpret, even though he doesn't speak the language,
Mm.
although that changes very quickly.
Yes, yes.
He's like he wants us to follow him. I go, how do you know? Because he's saying follow.
He just he just didn't know what it sounded like out loud before, so he quickly gets it once he realizes what the sounds are. He's like, oh, this is just the language I know. It's just out loud.
Yeah, he says that it sounds familiar, but he can't quite place it, and it's because it's just an ancient dialect that, because they are their own civilization for so long, evolved into something else.
Mm.
But yeah, they use the same type of writing, so he's able to read it.
So, yeah, they kind of bond a little bit. Kurt Russell kind of bonds with this one kid, and everyone's kind of bonding with James Spader because he's doing chicken noises because they give him this like big beast thing. So here, eat some of this, and he tries it. He's like, it tastes like chicken.
And he does his best Bluth impression of a chicken.
His best Bluth impression of a chicken. I mean, let's be honest, it was better than any of the Bluths.
Coodle doodle doo.
Caw, 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 caw. Ah. If it's not Third Rock from the Sun, it's Arrested Development. We can't be stopped.
Yeah.
So there's and this is where it was making me think of like a sort of mediocre Star Trek episode though. Is like I could see them all coming in and like bonding and hanging around people for a bit until the plot really gets going somewhere later on. And this is where we get to the romance. Is that so? As they're walking back to this camp, there's this one woman from this tribe who's kind of giving James Spader the eye, and she's kind of like, you know, she's sort of young and sweet. She's not like a seductress. It's more of a like a 20-year-old in love kind of thing.
Sure.
And later on,
she's never seen John Lennon before.
Yeah. And later on that night, they basically present him to a room, you know, with some curtains drawn, and they kind of like wipe him with some stuff, and then she comes in afterwards and starts undressing, and he's like, "Oh no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that." And he tries to leave, and like they're all outside waiting, and they're all in shock, as if she's not doing what she's supposed to. And he's like, and he kind of realizes that, and he's like, "Oh no, I just want to thank you. No, we're doing great." So he just shuts the curtain, and presumably they sit there and have an awkward one-way chat for 20 minutes to make everyone think it's happening. But later on, we can actually speak the language. She says something like, "Oh, I don't want them all to know that you didn't want me," and he's like, "What?"
Yeah.
I was being a
scoops her up and gives her a big old smack on the lips.
I didn't. I was being a gentleman. I want you bad. Thank you very much. Which leads to him.
In my culture, this is how we do it.
And well, I think they all think they're married at this point. Like, that presenting her to him was basically.
Yeah, I guess that's what it meant.
Yeah. So. Yeah, he ends up staying. He doesn't go back with them. He stays here at the end because he's got a wife.
Well, also we meet James Spader's character in the beginning, and he's kind of seen as like a kook scientist because he's saying that he's not saying that the Egyptians were aliens or that the pyramids were built by aliens, but he does say that there's some kind of influence that they weren't built by humans, so something happened. And so all of the other scientists like laugh at him during his presentations, and you could see why he would want to stay because he's not like exactly accepted amongst his peers or his community, and even the Marines at the beginning like just totally disrespect him.
Oh, they did. The complete dicks to him. They all seem to like him by the end. I guess it's like.
Well, he's want to get him home.
You've got this small covert group of people who know that he's actually a genius and that everything he says is true and that he's right and everyone else is wrong. But he's all classified. He can't tell anyone any of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stuck here. And obviously Kurt Russell's arc, because we get implied heavily early on that he lost his son, that his child is dead, and
He accidentally shot himself.
he accidentally shot himself, which is again heavily implied throughout the film because he keeps being really concerned whenever the natives touch his gun. He's like, no, that's dangerous. You can't touch that. He gets really upset. Which, to be fair, he's right.
Yeah.
So,
except his arc kind of completes when he allows the kids to take arms.
yeah, because there's a whole thing where the kids all like show up with the guns that they left behind to save the day as an army, and I'm like,
I guess my trauma is over now because I let a child hold a gun.
and I'm like, what sort of message is this sending? That he's wrong for not letting the teenager hold a gun? Like what?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, it's but he of course his arc is that he does learn to live again because he has this secret mission to stay back when everyone else goes home to set off a bomb to destroy the gate from that side to make sure nothing can come through. And of course he learns to live again, decides not to, and he decides to go home, and that's get big happy ending.
Happy Kurt Russell character arc.
Yes, happy Kurt Russell. It's just not quite the same when he's not pouring booze down a computer's hard drive or floppy drive and saying cheating bitch. Like that's just not the same without that.
Yeah. I mean, when did Captain Ron came out? I think that was my first like Kurt Russell experience as a kid, if not Stargate. Did you ever see that one, the comedy?
I never did. I think the first thing I saw Kurt Russell in was actually Backdraft.
Oh yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing I saw him in. Of course, I've come to love him. And
oh yeah, Captain Ron came out well, it was Captain Ron 92, Tombstone 93, and then Stargate 94. But yeah, I had seen Captain Ron a couple years earlier, so I would think I was very confused about why Kurt Russell was such a meanie. He didn't have dreadlocks and like being drunk, falling over the boat and stuff. Oh, it's really good. I wonder if that one holds up.
I'm not gonna lie, from what you just said, it doesn't sound like it does.
Got Martin Short in it too.
I feel that this movie's probably terrible, Tara. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I mean, it's no Rocket Man, but I'm sure it's pretty good.
Tara terrible. That's the new classification.
Just you're gonna watch Rocket Man, and you'll be like, I was wrong. You were totally right.
Oh, and Tara's put
it's a masterpiece, 10 out of 10.
Tara's put that relatively soon in the schedule as well, so it's on the horizon.
We have to watch it when it's close to Chernobyl. We can't wait too long.
Because the writer of Chernobyl is also the writer of Rocket Man. If I sound deflated, it's because I am. So let's talk about the villain then. The villain, like halfway throughout the movie, right after they've already been at the camp with the other, the natives, James Spader's taken down into like their like sort of archaeological digs and like the ruins and stuff, and he's translating things, and he's like reading this story. He's like, well, this reads of a story of a man named Ra, who was a being from another world who came to Earth because human beings would be like, if he could take the body of a human, then it's easier to keep healing a human. Obviously for him, not for us, because we're all dying still. But so this Ra became a human and enslaved all these people that are here on this side of the gate, and it basically has this big like pyramid-shaped spaceship in space that hovers above. But they've got like a teleport that goes up and down from the spaceship to the surface. Again, kind of Star Trek-y.
A little bit. I like the way the teleport system works, though. It's also like a bunch of mini Stargates that all pile up.
Yeah, no, that was
consistent.
fine. I do have a question though about this teleportation system. So during the climax of the film, when Spader and Russell are fighting the bad guys, who have all got like a big Anubis kind of masks on, that's kind of their big thing. Kurt Russell's fighting one of them, right? And he knows the switch to activate the portal to go up to the ship is on his hand. And I have no problem with this moment. He hits the button, and then the ring things come down, the little mini gates that are sort of vertical, and they crush his head, right? Or they cut off his head. And that kills him. I'm fine with this.
Is it like I know they kind of crush him, but
Mhm.
isn't it the teleportation that kills him?
Oh, you're right. He's still technically alive until the teleporter actually activates. You're right. Here's the thing. So he's doing this while James Spader's been up to the ship because his squeeze, the love interest, has been
Mm.
shot. And he's taking her up to use the fancy med bay facilities that keep healing Ra over and over again.
Which
So
is just an Egyptian tomb.
yeah, he literally goes up and he's just because Ra literally just looks over and sees him running past, holding this, like carrying this woman, like going to his
Yep.
chamber. So here's my thing: the teleporter goes on because James Spader and the woman are coming back down, and for some reason Ra like gets distracted here and lets him go so that he can teleport back down. That happens, fine. They teleport back down. Here's my question: are you telling me that Rat doesn't have like another button on the ship to activate the teleporter to chase him down or send someone else down after him?
I don't know. I mean, he just has an army of children, so what's he going to do with that?
He doesn't it doesn't even try and chase them. He just kind of like, okay, they're gone then.
Yeah.
What?
I guess, well, it's not, I don't remember Ross seeing him when he shows up to use the device, but he definitely sees them when they're leaving. And I think at that point, maybe it's too late.
Well, it's not just that he sees him. He was actually grabbing Spader by the neck right before.
Right. Yeah.
So oh, the scene confused me. There's a lot of weird like inconsistencies in just logic.
The one logic thing that I had an issue with is they said they've been working on opening the Stargate for like 20 years because they didn't know what the last symbol was.
Mm-hmm.
That was all. They just needed the last symbol in order to open the Stargate. But all the symbols aren't on there. So if you have the first six, why wouldn't you just like keep trying them until you landed on the seventh one? It's not like you have a million combinations. You just have however many symbols are on the Stargate.
Excellent question. Um,
That's the only thing that crossed my mind is like
they
that
they thought it
seems
was going
wrong.
to be dangerous, or like it might do something bad if they tried the wrong one. If they tried to do it trial and error, maybe.
Maybe that didn't seem to come up
Yeah, I don't know.
because when they were doing it and they got to the sixth symbol, and the older woman who was there when they originally found the Stargate says this is as far as we've ever gotten before.
Yeah.
We just didn't know what the seventh one was.
So what have you been doing for the last 20 years if you've been just stagnant? You know, good
I don't
questions.
know.
Excellent questions. See, you know it's not a good movie. You're ripping it to shreds.
I
Uh,
still had fun watching it. Like, it's not fun. Like Men in Black last week was like, or 2 weeks ago was like really fun. That was a fun movie. This is like a fun action movie. It's not quite the quality of like the summer blockbuster that you want, but it's enough. It's enough for like a good time with your family.
oh,
And it's got a cool concept. The images are really neat. I like the characters. I don't hate the main villain. I think his little army of children is a bit weird.
yeah.
I don't really like his voice. I don't think they needed to alter his voice.
Well, that's probably why I hated him. I hated the voice. I hated this dubbed, like, heavier voice that they were putting on top of him.
Hmm.
That really bugged me. Yeah, I think for me it's just I just don't think it's that fun. Like the part of the movie I like the most is the setup. It's just the
Hmm.
building up to going through the gate. It's like sending in the probe, like that stuff I like. And then once they get to the other planet though, it's just like a really weird, like mediocre Star Trek episode. Which is not an insult to Star Trek. Star Trek has many a great episode, but it does have some bad episodes. And this type of with the natives kind of episode, or one of them might fall in love, like this is exactly the sort of episode of Star Trek where I'm like,
I guess it's not very far from like the Greek god who mourns for Adonis
oh god, yeah,
episode.
yeah, a little bit like that. Yeah,
I think that's the name of it. The original
That
series is not like my. It's not. I don't know. I love it, but I don't remember all the episodes as well as Star Trek fans do.
that sounds right. That sounded right what you just said, but um yeah, I wish it was more fun. I wish the plot had more momentum. I feel like it really slows down like once they get to the camp, and the action at the end is not really enough to really sell it. And the villain's introduced so late in the movie that
Yeah, very late.
it's hard to really
Like
get
after an
behind
hour,
him.
I think, when you
Yeah,
see him for the first time.
I mean, even the first time he's mentioned by Spader looking at the wall is like 40 minutes in. Like it
Mm.
takes a long time to even establish the villain. So it's hard for him to have that much presence or menace because there's not enough build to him, which is a shame. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I like the look of him. I like the idea of this being that's meant to be a god, and he looks like just a young boy, very fragile looking. Um, I don't mind it. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really like the voice too much, but he's supposed to represent um a god, and all of his minions or whatever, the people who are fighting alongside him also have these like characteristics that are larger than life. They have these animal like masks, and they're part machine, and everybody worships them like gods, but then they have this great reveal where like, no, look at your god, and James Spader takes off the helmet, and it reveals it's just another man. And uh, it's okay, yeah, you're right, it's a little Star Trekky, but it's kind of a I think it's kind of a better Star Trek than a lot of the ones that we get that are like that.
oh, because I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. Like it's not a terrible movie. It's really like mainstream generic popcorn 90s, right? Where it's not
Yeah.
that impressive in the way that it would make it really fun, but it also has all the tropes of a 90s generic movie. Um, I mean, it has the cast. It had the cast to make it work. I don't think it quite does,
I
which is a
mean, I,
shame.
I don't disagree, but I still think it's a fine time at the movies or
I
or
love.
just at home. Like I think it's a good family film
It does make a nice change though
with
that I'm.
one decapitated head.
It does make a nice change though that I'm being super negative, and you're trying to defend it. I feel like it's usually the other way around. Usually I'm trying to
I
defend something
know.
from
I
you.
didn't think I would be the negative Nancy on the show, but
You
here we are.
are. Yep.
I know.
Yep. Yep. Tara. The terrible. I don't
Be
know.
careful. Choose your next words carefully.
You're just a tough critic, all right? You're a tough critic, and that means the higher ratings mean also much more. Um, which in
I mean,
hindsight,
this isn't going to get like a great rating or anything, but
yeah,
I think it's decent for the concept.
in hindsight though, it does make your 10 out of 10 for Day the Earth Stood Still feel actually more special.
Yeah,
So
it's well deserved.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what it is. So yeah, and as you imagine, after this, they convince the all the natives to like come in as an army to help fight the bad guys, and we get that big
Hmm.
moment. So, and the movie actually ends with them going through the gate. There's no like scene of them arriving back. It's just like it's the 2001 Beyond Jupiter scene for a quick second, and then it's like book credits.
Yep,
There you go.
I kind of like that too.
Okay. All right. Well,
Hmm.
rate it then. That's rate this bitch. I'm
Okay. Um, I assume you want me to go first.
always.
Always. Yeah. I, I don't know. It's a simple film for simple people, and what can I say? Sometimes I just want to watch a dumb movie with a cool concept. And visually, I think it looks great. I love the soundtrack, or the score, I should say. It is very 90s. Kurt Russell is amazing in it. And James Spader looks better than he ever has, ever. And maybe that's enough. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5. What about you?
Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. This is about as mediocre as a mediocre film can be. I am going straight down the middle with a 5 out of 10.
Ooh.
There's some fine qualities, there's some not fine qualities, but ultimately it's just a bit of a middle of the road dud.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I think it's fair. I mean, it is a Roland Emmerich movie, and I have said on this show in the past that I don't like Roland Emmerich movies at all. But
Yes. And
there are a couple exceptions.
and yet
I think this is
somehow
one of them.
somehow you have defended 100% of the Roland Emmerich movies we have talked about.
Well, yeah, we've only talked about one. Well, if you count our review of the Wandering Earth, I was very hard on the day after tomorrow. I couldn't remember it.
the tomorrow. Hey,
And
that's
I've been very hard on the Godzilla film that he did on previous episodes.
Yes, a film which I also do not like, just for the record.
I don't believe that at all.
Will you stop insulting my integrity like this? I will not have it, Tara. I will not have it.
This isn't something I'm making up. Like, I know you've said that to me before. I know you like that movie. Or I know you have fond memories of it, and that's enough. That's enough to damage your reputation.
All right, well, I'll be looking for a replacement for Tara on this show. If anyone would like to offer their application, we'll talk. We'll talk. Not having this.
I'll bust out the contract.
Oh my god.
Too bad you had to sign in blood.
Yes. Yes. Although for the joke, maybe I should rate this movie 3.6. Not great, not terrible. I hope by the time,
not great.
yeah, I hope by the time this comes out, people will still get the Chernobyl jokes, because that was a Chernobyl joke for anyone who didn't get it. So yeah, but that is Stargate. I said that as if it was going to be a subtitle, just Stargate. It's Stargate. But that's Stargate. So let us know what you thought of the movie in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. Or again, as we said at the start, get us at the Ace Podcast specifically for sci-fi movie goodness. So you could do that. You can of course rate us on your podcast app of choice. If you're on iTunes or whatever else, you'll give us a 5-star rating. It helps us out a lot. Sends the show to more people, and more people can discover us, and everyone can be happier, and so on and so on. Tara, if they want to support us financially, how can they do that?
Well, if you like us and you like what we do, you can go to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SmileFuzzTV. You can donate for as little as $1 per month. And the $1 gets you a ton of goodies, including these episodes 1 week early. And you get our bonus episodes, for which we have, I think at this time, it'll be 3 bonus episodes, maybe 4. Maybe a 4th one's on the way. And those are usually pretty fun, so check them out.
We've done 2.
Mm-hmm. You don't think we'll have a 3rd one by this time?
Given... No, not by this time.
Okay.
Not by this time.
Well, enjoy the 2.
The 3rd one will be soon.
Unless you're listening from the future, then I hope you enjoyed the whole catalog.
Yes, the whole catalog of them, yes. So, no. Can I just say, Tara, that your Patreon segment has gotten much better since I started making you do it way back early on.
Well, how many episodes are we now?
This is episode 11.
Yeah, I'm a pro.
You're a pro now.
And you want to hire someone else?
I was bluffing.
Go through all that training again? No way.
I was bluffing so that you'd be nicer to me.
Oh, I guess that means I can ask for a raise, or
I will give you a 500% raise.
All right, 500 up from nothing. Got it.
Still 0.
Still 0.
But yeah, so that is pretty much the show. However, there's more, because we still have our bonus segment to do. We still have to talk about Mystery Science Theater 3000, and the episode we watched this week was Overdrawn at the Memory Bank, which actually starred Raul Julia. who, of course, you might know as Gomez from the two Addams Family movies. You may also know him as Bison from the Street Fighter movie, of all things. He's a really good actor, actually. Really good comic timing. Really, really good. Not that he's good in this, because...
Actually, I think he is pretty good in this.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to
I
argue
mean, he's
too
surrounded
hard.
by so much bad that it's easy to think that he's pretty good in it.
Yeah, the premise of this one is that he has an accident, and he's in the future. He works at like a computer processing place. He gets in trouble because he's been watching, as they refer to it in the film, cinemas at his computer. He's watching Casablanca, and he gets in an accident, and they have to like sort of like tap into his brain. And because he's
Yeah, he gets a psych evaluation.
yeah, what was the word again? It was like two things combined. It was like psychic and therapist or something like that, like combined.
Oh yeah, I don't remember. I think it was just go see your psychist.
Psychist, that's what it was. Psychist, yes.
Yeah.
But he ends up like in like the essentially the matrix of the company, and he keeps rewriting it and causing chaos. But what that actually happens to him, he doesn't realize this at first. He learns it as gradually as it goes on. But he's in his own world that he's altering with his like subconscious, and it gets more and more like Casablanca as it goes on, to the point that by the end there's like a bar, there's a version of him in a suit, although he's actually still a separate character. There's a love interest. There's all these different things, and that's the gist of the movie. As fat people in the real world decide if they should just unplug them and not deal with this bullshit anymore.
Yeah, I think the main antagonist is a guy who owns the Doppel company or something, and because Raul Julia's character Aaron Fingal
Fingal.
Is a hacker in real life. That's how he's able to get the cinemas.
Yes.
Because he is a hacker in real life, he's able to somehow tap into the Doppel matrix world that he's in and change it all, and they find that really threatening for some reason.
Let's not gloss over something you just dropped on us there. His name is Aram Fingal, rather.
From San Juan, Puerto Rico.
And he works at a company called Nirvana. And there is a Nirvana joke, don't you worry. They start singing. But there's also Fingal My Tingle.
No.
Tingle My Crinkle? Fingal?
Do you want some Pringles, Fingal? Do you need a tinkle?
Tingle my fingle.
I didn't want to bungle or bobble the Fingal Doppel.
That was one of the running jokes. The other running joke I really liked was the evil villain who happens to be a very overweight man. There was a lot of jokes about him only doing things if there was a food incentive to do so.
The sound effects for him walking were pretty funny too.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's gonna be donuts. Oh, there's chicken. There's a buffet.
Every time he would have to take a step in the movie, I think it was like Tom Servo would just add this like heavy breathing over top of it, coughing, a lot like the sound of my dog throwing up earlier.
Yeah. At one point, like he's in a car and they're grabbing someone and they're just about to drive off, and as they're driving off, one of them cracked a joke about like, quick, I'm hungry, there's food on this way or something like that. Like, there was a joke about going to food, and that was pretty funny. There was a couple of good running jokes in this one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The movie it sounds like a crazy movie and you're thinking, oh, that sounds great, but honestly, like every scene is so dull in the way it's shot and the way that like,
well, yeah, it's like a
is.
public access film, so it all looks just so cheap.
Oh yeah, really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Absurdly
and
cheap.
there's like every shot is filmed in like that soap opera fuzzy vision, or like they have smeared Vaseline over the camera lens.
Absolutely. And then you have the one woman who's kind of trying to help him, who's been ordered to sort of look into his case, and she's looking up on his history and stuff.
Apollonia Jane.
Yes. And say that again?
Apollonia Jane.
Yeah. Wasn't there someone in this? Wasn't there
all the names in this movie are just ridiculous.
Wasn't there a character named something like Janello?
No, her coworker and friend, just this, I don't know, mousy looking white woman comes in, and her name's Jamila.
Jamila, that was it. Yeah, yeah, that stuck out as being a bit off. Um,
Yo, Jamila.
but she could actually beam herself into his matrix and talk to him and be the love interest. Uh, and I mean, the villain also does as well and tries to kill him a bunch of times. Um, and the movie just kind of ends with like, okay, they've kind of like got out of it and they're like just walking off out the room, arms around each other, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess so.
I, I,
It's not good.
it's not. It's a dull movie. I think. I mean, it was a fun episode of Mr. Science Theater because the jokes were pretty, thick and fast, and a lot
Yeah.
of them were really funny.
This one's kind of a unique one too because they don't usually do comedies, and this, I think, Overtime Memory Bank. I mean, even the title alone suggests it's a comedy.
Yeah, I I think it's a good episode of Mr. Science Theater. As a movie, it's less like if I'm comparing it to Werewolf or if I'm comparing it to Space Mutiny, like those movies are inherently just a bit more entertaining. This movie is so dull that it's a good episode of Mr. Science Theater, but it can't hold a candle to those other episodes because those movies are actually really entertaining on their own
Uh,
in a bad way.
yeah, I mean, Werewolf's still my favorite, and yeah, of course, Space Mutiny's great.
It's absolutely
This one I ranked
fascinating.
pretty high though. I think it might be because I had the VHS copy of this one. I recorded it off the TV and I just watched it all the time. I know every joke, every scene,
Oh yeah,
every line.
for the record, Tara was actually saying jokes like seconds before they happened. Like that was a thing that was happening. She was calling the
I watched this
jokes.
episode a lot when it came out. And I maybe because of that, like I know the film so well that I can follow it a lot easier. Because it is kind of complex. There's a lot that happens in the film.
Yeah, we were cracking a lot of
But
Matrix
I really like
jokes.
this one.
There was a point. One of the first things that happened when he was
I don't,
inside the Matrix. There was like his mum shows up and gives him a bowl and a spoon, or
yeah.
and he's left just holding a spoon. Because I remember cracking a joke about, oh, it's really like the Matrix now. He's got a
I
spoon.
don't think there is any Matrix jokes because this episode came out in '98.
No, 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 no. We were cracking Matrix jokes, not them.
Oh, we were, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think was it the Matrix '99?
it was. Yeah, yeah. They weren't. Yeah, they definitely weren't. But we were.
Although there is a lot of similarities to the Matrix, so who knows? Maybe the Wachowskis watched it.
Yeah. But we were cracking Matrix jokes quite heavily early on, and then the spoon thing happened, and I was like, ah, yeah, yeah, Matrix.
You want your spoon back? It's a funny line.
Was that his mom, or was it just a random old woman? I can't remember.
Oh no, that was his mother,
That was his
who
mother.
was not
Yeah.
Puerto Rican.
Who was that's right? Yeah, she's just this white woman. It's like, hmm. I mean, it could have a Puerto Rican dad. It could be a mixed, mixed race
Could
marriage.
be. Could
Uh,
be stretch.
it could be. So you never know. But yeah, um, yeah, that was basically it. I don't know what else to add to this one.
So this one's not as high for you as the other ones that we've watched.
It's better than Puma Man, and
Ooh, I love that one.
I mean
Better
Puma
than
Man,
Fifth Space.
like Puma Man has that great joke about going out the window. Like it has that, but
They
um,
just have an Aztec warrior. Yeah.
I think my favorites so far have definitely been Werewolf, Warrior of the Lost World, Space Mutiny, and to an extent Manos.
Man, it was a tough watch. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, those are the favorites. But um, Mega Weapon, Mega Weapon, Mega Weapon.
Yeah, I like that one too.
That one's so good, so
Do you think
good.
do you think it'd be a bad idea to pick another one for next time, even though it's gonna be like a week or so?
No, you can pick another one. Go on. What's next?
Okay, but you have to remember what I pick because I'll forget.
Do you know what? I'll write it down.
Oh, let's see. We've done a couple of mics in a row, so well, we did Manos and then Mike. Let's see. Let's do another. Let's do Zombie Nightmare.
Zombie Nightmare.
Yeah, it's another Mike one, but it's like a previous Sci-Fi Channel one.
All right, Zombie Nightmare is coming in the not too distant future. Next Sunday, AD, you might say. But yeah, so no, decent one. We should probably tell them what's coming next in terms of the main movie as well, because we're doing
Oh shoot, we forgot to do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're doing a new movie. Just went up on Netflix at the time of recording last week, which is I Am Mother. So we'll check out a new movie and see how it is. Hopefully it stacks up to something.
I don't know. Netflix movies, they don't have
Yeah.
a pretty good record for
Yeah.
me anyway.
They don't for me either. They've got one or two gems, and then the rest are pretty mediocre, unfortunately. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe this breaks the streak, as you like to say.
Yeah, breaks the streak. A streak of shit. So
It's a t-shirt idea. Just a streak of shit.
just a streak of shit. So next episode of I Am Mother will not have a Mystery Science Theater bonus section, so don't expect that then. But the one after it probably will have. If not, the one after that definitely will, and then it'll be back to normal from there. So look forward to that. So and then next time you see us, Tara will have a different background behind her.
Yeah.
So we'll see what that looks like. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what the background's going to look like.
Hopefully it won't be as white, but it probably will be at first.
Yeah, get some I don't know, fairy lights or something up. Give it a nice background.
Oh yeah,
feel.
be extra girly.
Yes.
Sure. Though I mean, I already have enough trouble like trying to get the lighting right for this camera. I'm sure fairy lights will help.
I mean, I considered putting lights up in the background at one point. I don't think it's that girly.
Okay. Try it. See what people say.
Once again, there's a job application opening for co-host of the Ace. Should anyone be interested? Because Tara's done in this town.
You don't know what you're asking for.
I'm only kidding. I'll never get rid of Tara. She's half the show, damn it. I'm stuck with her. All right. That has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. This has been episode 11 of the show. Experiment number 11, you might say. Or test subject 11. Yeah, that's what I put on the thumbnails.
We'll get it right.
Yeah. So that has been us. That has been the show. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I did all the plugging, of course, before the bonus section, so I won't go into it all again. But we do appreciate you checking the show out and sitting through our shambles and hearing us yak about things and whatever else we do. I don't know, what do we do?
I don't know. We yell at our animals a lot.
We do that a lot. We do that a lot. Make fun of each other occasionally. Maybe dabble in some light Third Rock from the Sun discussion. I don't know. But that has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. Thank you once again for watching and listening, folks. We always appreciate it. We love you loads. Keep watching sci-fi movies, guys. And computer. That's salsa.
Yum yum.